Hello dear students, welcome to Genesis. Well, in this video I'm mainly going to explain the mechanism behind seeing an object, accommodation of eye and adaptation of eye. But before I start, I must thank Edge Rider Boy for writing the correct answer. I want more participation from all of you. You can write down your doubts if you have any. You can also answer the questions that I ask. This means a lot to me and this will make the sessions more interactive. So to understand how we can see objects, I have divided this thing into 4 subparts or 4 steps, you can say. Okay. Now the first thing is the entry of the light, right? So how is this light entering into your eyes? Before this, you must know what are the various layers that that the light will pass through while it is entering into your eyes. These are number 1, the conjunctiva. After conjunctiva is cornea, then is the aqueous humor, which is the first fluid before the lens, and then is lens, and after lens it is vitreous humor. So these are the different layers that the light will have to travel to reach your retina. So this can come in examination where you may be asked to draw the flowchart or you may be asked to rearrange these. So you should know what comes after what. Second is focusing of the image. How is this image focused on the retina? To focus the image on the retina, we need to converge the lights. And for converging the light, there are 2 parts of the eyes that are involved. Number 1 is the cornea and the second is the lens. So you must know these, that the cornea and the lens, they basically converge the light rays. And what do they do after that? Then they form a real, you have to remember this, and an inverted image on the retina. So these are all the operatives and you must know all of them. So cornea and lens, they basically help to converge the light rays. What kind of image are they forming? They are forming real but inverted image. And where is this image cast? It is produced on the retina. Then next step is transmission of the impulse from the retina to the brain. How is that done? As the light energy is hit or they come in contact with the retina, there is some chemical changes that is brought about in the rod cells and cone cells of the retina. These changes generate impulse. Now the impulse will be transported. Who is going to transmit this impulse? It will be transmitted by the optic nerve. And where will it be transmitted? In the brain. But where exactly in the brain? In the cerebrum. So you must know that light energy is converted to chemical energy, and this chemical energy brings changes in rods and cones, generates impulse, which is picked up by the optic nerve and sent to the cerebrum of the brain. The final step is how is the brain interpreting the message that comes to it. The brain interprets the image as upright. If you see the image that was initially the image that was formed on the retina, that was real and inverted, but the brain perceives that inverted image as upright. So these were the different steps that together help you to see things. Now let's quickly understand the difference between accommodation and adaptation of eyes. Okay, now let us understand what is accommodation. Accommodation matlab how your eyes are constantly changing and helping you to see objects which are close or sometimes which are very far. याद रखना, in a normal condition your eyes are adapted to see things which are far. So ऐसे condition में होता क्या है? For distant vision the lens is more flat or thinner. I will request you to use any one word when you are writing this answer in both. I've seen students writing answers जहाँ ये flat या thin word नहीं use करके कुछ भी elongated ये सब use करते हैं. I would suggest restrict yourself to using either flat या thinner. So when you are looking at something which is very far, तब आपके lens thin होते हैं और they are flat. क्यों? Because the suspensory ligament, if you remember, these are suspensory ligaments जो directly in contact with the lens, they contract, वो खींचते हैं lens को. And suspensory ligament के ठीक ऊपर there is ciliary muscle. Suspensory ligament and ciliary muscle are antagonistic. Or when the suspensory ligaments contract, the ciliary muscles will relax. So ध्यान से देखो, the lens is elongated here, the suspensory ligaments contracted and the ciliary muscles relaxed. And इस condition में how will the lens look? The lens is flat and thinner. और ये किस तरह के vision में हमें help करता है? Distant vision. जब normal condition में आप बैठे हैं, when you are talking to somebody, at that time your eyes are adapted for distant vision. Now when you are reading a book or something which is very close, or maybe you are threading a needle, ऐसे conditions में your eyes immediately adapt itself for near vision. Near vision मतलब right now the shape of the lens is going to change. The lens is going to be more convex, थोड़ा सा convex हो जाता है, and rounded. Again, either you're going to use word convex or you're going to use rounded. इसके बाहर कोई और word मत use करना. What happens now? The suspensory ligaments relax, and अगर suspensory ligament relax करते हैं तो ciliary muscle क्या करेंगे? They are going to contract. The suspensory ligaments relax and the ciliary muscles contract. This is how constantly the lens is changing its shape. Okay, and how is it happening? It is because of the suspensory ligament and ciliary muscle. So you must know shape of the lens डिपेंडिंग अपॉन कौन से टाइप का विजन से आपको क्वेश्चन किया जाएगा. एंड आपको ये भी याद रखना होगा कि सस्पेंसरी लिगामेंट उस वक्त कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करता है, रिलैक्स करता है, बिकॉज सीलियरी मसल जस्ट एंटागोनिस्टिक लिकनेस ही होगा. लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल इफ आई से द लेंस इज थिन एंड फ्लैट, flat. तो the first thing that will come to my mind, the lens is thin and flat because उसे जरूर खींचा गया होगा. किसने खींचा? Suspensory ligaments. That means they contracted. So if the suspensory ligaments contracted, definitely the ciliary muscles relaxed. And जब near vision की बात होगी, then the lens is more convex. So the suspensory ligaments relaxed and the ciliary muscles contracted. Now let us understand what is adaptation. जैसे accommodation में your eyes they adapt themselves to various distances. Similarly, in case of adaptation, it is a process by which the eyes adjust to different levels of light intensity, like dark or highly lit room. When you enter a room which is dark or when you enter a room which is well lit, how your eyes constantly change themselves, that is known as adaptation. What exactly changes in the eye? Let us understand. In case of dark adaptation, that means when you are entering a room which is dark, under such condition there will be regeneration of rhodopsin. क्या? What do we mean by regeneration of rhodopsin? When you are out in the light, उस वक्त आपके rhodopsin pigment की जरूरत नहीं होती है. What you need is iodopsin pigment, because in presence of light you have to differentiate between different colors, and iodopsin is the pigment which can remain intact in presence of light. लेकिन from light, immediately when you enter a room which is dark, you have problem in adjustment for few seconds. ये क्यों होता है? Because in those few seconds the regeneration of rhodopsin happens. मतलब when you are in light, this pigment is actually broken down, but the moment you enter a dark room, they are regenerated. ये first adaptation है. The second adaptation is the dilation of the pupil of your eye. Pupil, if you remember, pupil are the windows, right? और उनके ठीक आगे iris होता है. So if this is your eyeball, here is the iris जहाँ मैंने stripes बनाया है, and this opening is the pupil. So when you are in a dark room, this window widens so that जितना भी थोड़ा बहुत light मिले वो enter करे आपके आँखों में, and it will help you in observing. So there will be dilation of the pupil and there will be regeneration of the pigment which is required for dark room vision, that is known as rhodopsin. Similarly, when you enter a room which is well lit from a dark room, एकदम अंधेरे से अचानक से अगर आपको एक बहुत well lit room में भेजा जाए, there are again two adaptations that are going to be shown. So if it is a well lit room, so now the rods are going to be bleached and the pupils are constricted. Why? Because the window can afford to remain narrow because there is already enough light. So it has to protect the eye from excess of light entering into it. Okay. So this is adaptation, and these are the two kinds of adaptations that we have seen. So we have covered accommodation and we know what is adaptation of eye. Now I'm going to draw a few diagrams and we are going to try to guess the condition of the eye. Okay, here are two diagrams in front of us and we will be asked to guess the kind of accommodation. So in the first case, if you clearly see, look at the diameter of the lens or the shape of the lens. The shape of the lens in first case is flatter, whereas the same lens in the second case is more curved. So it can be very clearly said that in the first case, the light rays are definitely coming from distance. And this is the accommodation for distant vision. Whereas in the second case, since the lens is curved, so this is accommodation for near vision. Again, in these two diagrams, if we are asked to guess the adaptation of the eye, we will look at the diameter of the pupil. In situation A, the diameter of the pupil is narrow compared to situation B. Hence, this is definitely for light adaptation. And since here it is already wide, it is for dark adaptation. So you may be asked questions like this in exams. You just have to look at the shape of the lens if we are talking about accommodation. Second, you have to look at the diameter of the pupil if we are thinking about adaptation. With this, we finish today's lecture. We are going to meet again in my next lecture where I will discuss various defects of human eye. Till then, keep revising, subscribe my channel. Thank you.